now we've got all the shafts and all that in, it's time to put the throwout bearing on. And just finishing off this section here, so we're ready to put it in the tractor. So once we put this on, put the throwout on, the return springs, put the brake shaft through the hole here, which you can do later. You can get the brake shaft through once the tractor's assembled if you need to. But look, we'll put it in anyway. I've got some nice new brake pedals from Gordon Ellis out in Inverell. But so what I've done here, I've put the one shaft in, and on the shafts, this is the old shaft, and you can see where I've welded it there, and it's got a little bit of an undercut. That's fine. Look, we're not worried about that. The undercut part of it isn't on the bush. It's actually, it sits sort of like that on the tractor, and then this throwout, or your clutch adjustment, sits out here. So look, it won't be a worry. I'm happy with that. Now, you may recall when I was pulling this out, I had real trouble getting the screw out, and this is the screw there, and you can see when you turn it, it's nowhere near true. And I had to fight that all the way to get this offset thread out. It looks like it had nearly been sheared off at some stage. So using the old shaft here, I'll just put that up in the hole up there. Using the old shaft here, I've actually opened this shaft out a little bit now. Where the grease everywhere. Where the taper goes in, the taper was worn a little bit, and this fella was going down that deep that the thread was actually hitting down the bottom here. So I've opened that up a little bit with a die grinder just to give this thread plenty of room to go out. So if we just lift this up, now where's the hole? Should be straight up and down about there. So I've also, this is the exact, the thrust support here. That is the Fergie 35 one out of the FE 35. Now down through here on these surfaces, the other one was very marked up, so I chose to use this one, and you might see it shiny there. I've polished that up just to make it a nice smooth area. The area through here, you can see I've polished that up as well, and I've pressed off and just pressed on the throwout bearing. That's an S40735 bearing, but we don't need him just yet. I'll find a little hammer and we'll just tap this shaft in a little bit. It's a little bit firm. Now firm on this side is good because this side here does all the work. So I just want to slide him forward, and I'm looking in this gap here for how far in the, there, I can just see the hole there now. I reckon that should start. I've also put a little bit of grease, not a lot, a little bit of grease on the throwout, not the throwout, well actually on the throwout snout I have as well, but a little bit on the splines, not much that it throws out, but a little bit on this front. On the front of the splines, just a smidgen of grease there. When you're lining it up, lining the clutch plate up, just that little bit of slip and slide helps. So I'll see if we can get this whole thing here lined up. And I do have new screws from Sparex here, but look, I've got a perfectly good one out of the 35, so I'm going to use that. And another thing I've done is the hole down the bottom of the bell housing that lets any oil that leaks into this cavity out. Mine didn't have a split pin in it, so I've put the split pin in it now. So that should be okay, but I'll try and tighten this up. These get a bit firm sometimes. You don't often have to pull all these out, it's just that we're doing everything as in a nut and bolt restoration, so we're doing it. That's a 7/16 spanner I'm dropping, throwing around the countryside. I'm expecting this one to go in a bit further than this one just because of the bit of wear we know of in the hole in the shaft, but that's tightening up nicely. Beautiful. So now with what I like to do at this stage is we have these thrust bearing return springs here. So now these bearings, it's an NWB brand, an NWB 298 here, but I got it off Sparex. So these springs, I like to bring them in from underneath, and that puts the hook out like that. So it just works a bit better. Well, I think it's a bit better like that. So I'll see if I can. So that one comes in from the bottom and up, and this one comes from the top down. That should put it where we need it. And if we line this up, now there's a bit much grease there, see that? That's too much, and that's come out of that housing. So I'll just go and get rid of that off my fingers. I didn't wipe it on my pants, I've got a bit of rag. You blokes, you get in trouble. So I'll just take a little bit off these splines here. Now I put a little bit of grease because that's usually what I've got around. You can put a bit of graphite, which is probably a good thing on these splines, but I tend not to, but you know, you're playing the fiddle, so buddy, do what you like. Then get your trusty MIG wire pliers. Oh, that one's come out again. Okay, so when I put the pliers in the side hole here now, you can feel that's snapping back out of the way. So these bearings are not to run in contact all the time. So you need to have this adjusted so there's clutch free travel. So these bearings are not to touch the fingers. So if they touch the fingers there, you want a couple of millimetres gap in here, which you can see from up there. But when you look at doing the pedal on the outside there, have a look at the book. You probably need 30mm free travel on the pedal itself. So that you know that this isn't riding. You don't want this bearing riding. So, okay, so I'll just check these are tight again. And I'll go and grab a bit of welding wire and we'll tie these off. Okay, this is just oxy welding wire. It's lovely and soft for doing this sort of job. So if we poke him through there and just keep pushing him back round a little bit as we go. We'll eventually get enough there to bring him down underneath here. We'll give him a bit of a twitch. I'd like that to go down a bit further really. I will go and get some pliers with a fatter jaw there. Just give him a bit of a twitch up and a chop off. Then I usually just like to file that out of the way. Just so it's not sharp, and because I'll probably be the bloke with my hand in there. Okay, same again here. It'd be nice to have them just so you could just go straight through and back around, but they never ever seem to work like that. This is a place where I don't suggest Loctiting, because those little screws can be a bugger to get out when they're not Loctited. So this little tie wire is a good idea. I'll chop off the loose ends. Just flatten that out a little bit. Pull everything out of the hole. And I believe that's all we need to do in there. Just test that again. That's feeling good. The bearing's feeling good. All right, I might clean up the brake shaft as part of this and just poke that through. And yeah, we'll go and put this on the tractor then. We still have the selectors to put in the back here, but we can do all that once this is bolted onto the engine. And pardon me. And when this is bolted onto the engine, yeah, we can just get the camera around. It's under a good light where it is over there, so we'll work from there. Okay, in the video of getting the housing ready here, you may recall that we put new bushes in here for the brake shaft. Now, the brake shaft, once again, I'm using the brake shaft out of the 35. You can put this in later. Now, this side here with the wire ring, that goes to the right, because as you sit on the tractor, your brake pedal's on the right, your clutch is on the left. So we have I'm not sure if I need to replace this or not. Like, I think this has got no wear in it, and I may just sandblast that up a little bit just to tidy it yet. Pop him off, and that's got a key holding it in place. And the left-hand brake pedal has a key there as well. So the right-hand brake pedal just pivots on here. It just pivots, doesn't do any work. The left-hand brake pedal hooks on here, turns the whole shaft to do the brakes. So look, they just have to come in through here. Once again, I've greased the bushes. Remember that the clip for the other pedals come out the right-hand side as you sit on the seat. That goes in there. And look, just lovely. Hardly worth starting the camera. But yeah, but keep in mind, if you take the key out on one side, you can pull that whole shaft in and out without having the tractor split. Okay, so after getting all the gearbox, the bell housing parts done, we can slide him back on as one piece, which, look, it'll be a great thing. The bigger the bits, the better. And I've got to touch up some paint here where the stand was that we turned it over on. I haven't got the steering box on. I've got the bracket I made sitting up here. It seems to be reasonably well balanced. The clutch was put in with a clutch aligning tool, so I expect all that to be okay. I've put those dowel bolts, the 7/16 UNC dowel bolts, down the side. And I usually try and put them somewhere near the dowels. Probably doesn't matter where you put them, I'd say. But with the stand here, you can see it's leaking down at the back a bit, but I'm going to try and, I've got it balanced so I can just lift it here. Oh, look at that. So I can lift it there. And I'm sitting down here so I can see. I can talk to the camera. So, okay, let's see if we can line this old girl up. Oh, look at that. And look, all I did there was I was turning the back shaft here just to turn the gears to help line it up. But look, that looks bloody good. With it, Oh look, it's yours won't go that easy. Mine very rarely ever goes that easy. So look, what I like to do is, well, probably there we can take the dowel bolts out, and I like to put a bolt in right next to the dowel. There's a dowel there. That was an easy one, wasn't it? I didn't even turn the PDO. And I have another bolt cleaned up. I've only got a couple of bolts cleaned up, so I do have to clean them all up yet. I'll pull this dowel. Yep, this dowel's coming out too, nice and easy. That'll go back in the Fergie toolkit. I've got a little pot over in the drawers here where all the little tools go. So I'm just surprised how easy that was. I certainly hope yours is that easy, but it bloody well won't be, you know that, eh? So I'll just nip that up. Nip this one here up. Just incredible it was that easy. Anyway, we'll just take every win we can get. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to, looks like my bracket's starting to bend. I've got to clean all these bolts up yet. I'll put them over there and I'll let this down. Yep, okay, so that's safe. And what I may do is grab a lifting sling, come under the axle flange here. And look, just for safety's sake, I'm bringing the stand back, other way. This bracket here is really made for lifting axles. That's a bracket off a roll frame, and I've got it so I can bolt it on the final drives and lift the whole planetaries out. So what I may need to do is just pop a support in there if it has a weak spot there, but that's okay. We'll bring this up. There's a nice flat section under there. I think that'll be okay. Okay, that's lovely. So yeah, I need to clean all this up yet. This brake shaft, I showed putting that in, but I might pull that out yet and pull this off and do the little bead blast it. And on the clutch lever here, wherever I put that, on the clutch lever, I've got to tidy that up yet too. And there's another couple of things I'll do, like when I painted the engine here, I was waiting on the gaskets and studs for the exhaust manifold, and under there I've got a bit of paper sealing that off, so I think I'll bolt that on, and then I'll mask around this section here so this gets a bit of paint on it as well. And I still have to do the radiator, so I'll come right behind the camera. Now, if I loosen him off a bit, yeah, so that's what it's looking like there. I've got all the steering knuckles and rods and all that sitting where the radiator goes, and the gearbox bolted on. So now all that's done, I'll probably put a bit of time into this section here, like I say, tidying that up, getting these brake pivots clean. These steering arms, yeah, some of these rods I had to get the oxyacetylene onto them to get them free, but I do have nice new tyre ends and all that to go on. So, okay, that'll do for this bit. I'll go and tidy my bolts up and get that whole bell housing bolted on correctly. And yeah, we'll see you back for something else.